As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date with the latest information. News Talk KVNU 102 FM 610 AM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. The annual Walk to End Alzheimer's is scheduled for Saturday at Merlin Olsen Park in Logan. Sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association, the event is held annually in more than 600 communities across the nation, according to Wendy Farr, the new development director of the local Alzheimer's Association.
We're going to start gathering at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's where we offer registration for those who haven't already registered, but it's also information. We have sponsors, so people will be able to talk to those vendors who are from the industry, so those who will be able to answer questions for people. The ceremony will start at 10 o'clock, and then we'll get walking by about 10:30.
Alzheimer's disease is the fourth leading cause of death in the state of Utah. It's the most common type of dementia, according to the Centers for Disease Control. Current estimates are that about 5.8 million people in the U.S. have Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. That includes about 5.6 million aged 65 and older, and about 200,000 under age 65 with early onset Alzheimer's. While there is no fee to register for the walk, Farr says organizers are encouraging all participants to help to raise critical funds that allow the Alzheimer's Association to provide around-the-clock care and support for victims of the disease. The walk also funds advanced research toward methods of prevention, treatment, and ultimately a cure.
If you are someone who is concerned about a loved one, if it's a family member, if it's a neighbor, if it's someone you have church associations with, it's a coworker, whoever it might be, this is the time to stand in solidarity with others who also have individuals in their lives that they care about as well. Yes, it's also a fundraising event, but in effect, what you're able to do is have those moments of support and a sense of community, and that you're not doing it alone.
The local event currently has 72 registered participants and 20 teams of various sizes. The local organizer's goal is to raise $27,300. As of now, the walk has raised $9,312. A U.S. Army veteran is walking across the country to raise funds to help other veterans battling PTSD. Jake Sansing started his journey from Oregon to Maine back in April. The Tennessee man just made it to Utah this week and was in Cache Valley before heading through Sardine Canyon. Sansing served 2 tours in Afghanistan from 2007 to 2011. When he returned to the U.S., he was homeless and struggling with PTSD. He said that when he first got out, he didn't really want anything to do with people. He didn't really know what he was looking for, so he started working for different charities at the time. He wrote a book, Walking America, a 10,000-mile journey of self-healing, and is now raising money to create a nonprofit campground to help other veterans struggling with mental health. And an investigation is underway after a fire sparked at a Salt Lake City high school overnight. Authorities said Skyline High School sustained smoke damage after a fire sparked on the building's exterior, according to a Unified Fire Authority spokesperson. The incident began at about 10:30 p.m. last night. The ensuing incident burned tar and insulation, which in turn left the gym with smoke damage ahead of classes this morning. Crews were able to respond quickly and had the flames extinguished before it could cause any further damage. No injuries were reported. Cache Valley weather brought to you by Top Job Asphalt. They specialize in asphalt paving and maintenance, as well as concrete installation and repair. Mostly clear tonight, low in the upper 30s, and then sunny, mid-70s on Saturday, right around 80 degrees, and lots of sunshine on Sunday. You can always get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
This is Mark with Roof Rescue. Most of us don't think about our roofs very often until you see shingles on the ground or water drips through your ceiling. Keep your roof in tip-top shape to protect your home, your biggest investment. Roof Rescue uses only the highest quality materials with experienced workmanship guaranteed to last. Even if you were denied by your insurance company the first time, a free re-evaluation can be made. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free consultation in Cache Valley and surrounding areas. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
Breaking news, stimulating talk. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
The people have spoken. Steel-coated epoxy floors of Cache Valley has been voted gold medal winner for 2022 Best of Northern Utah for the second year in a row. Known for their extremely durable floor coating systems, they can completely transform your concrete. Garages and shops, porches and patios, they coat it all. With over 25 years of operation, Steel-Coated Epoxy Floors is Cache Valley's premier coating professionals. Contact Steel-Coated Floors of Cache Valley today. Find them online at steelcoatedfloors.com.
Schreiber Foods wants to give a big thanks to the community for your support during their 50-year celebration. Thanks to you, they exceeded their goals for money raised and food donated for the Cache Food Pantry. Over 60,000 boxes of birthday cake mix was donated and thousands of dollars raised, all to help feed hungry families in our community. You also helped set a world record for the largest macaroni and cheese dish ever made. Over 4,700 pounds were made, and it was delicious. In fact, so many people have asked for the recipe that you can now pick up that exact recipe at the Logan Schreiber Foods office, 885 North, 600 West. Local restaurants donated proceeds like Texas Roadhouse, Chick-fil-A, Firehouse Pizza, Los Primos, Sabores, Tandoori Oven, and Cafe Sabor. They also want to thank their dedicated Schreiber Foods employees for all the difference you make in feeding the world and doing good through food. Again, thank you from everyone at Schreiber Foods. They couldn't have done it without you.
You're in the market to buy a home and dreaming of a new home you can fill with new memories. But homes just aren't in your budget. Or are they? Visionary Homes wants you to know you don't have to buy a used home. Buy new. Buy now with Visionary Homes. As a trusted award-winning Utah home builder, Visionary Homes understands that your home is the center of your life, bringing friends and family together, creating memories you'll cherish forever. Buy new. Buy now. VisionaryHomes.com.
Visionary Homes. Hey everybody, John Weiss with Heritage Jeep. You know, I get a lot of people asking me, John, why should I buy a Jeep from Heritage? What makes you so different? The difference is simple. It's our transparency promise. Every Heritage vehicle has the same low price online as you'll see on the sticker in the window. No secrets, no games, just total transparency. And during the Jeep Make This the Summer event, it's the perfect time for a great deal on our full lineup of 2022 Jeep vehicles. From the luxury of the all-new Wagoneer to the unrivaled toughness of the iconic Wrangler. So come see your hometown dealers the biggest deals during the Jeep Make This the Summer event and make this the summer you find yourself behind the wheel of a legendary Jeep vehicle. Visit Heritage in Brigham City, Logan, Tremont, or get your e-price at heritageeprice.com. At heritageeprice.com, you'll find the most competitive prices on the most rugged and capable Jeep vehicles. That's Heritage, your hometown dealer's the biggest deal.
Heritage Auto Group, Heritage, it's what drives our future.
Hiya, champ. How was school today?
All right, get your jokes out now. Can you fix the suit?
So cranky.
You want a juice box and some string cheese?
Do you really have that?
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, hour 2 of today's show. It is the For the People Movie Show. Andy Morgan joining us here in just a bit, which means the first tiny few minutes of the show, I can say things about movies and he can't stop me. Like, the Muppets are great, and I love Despicable Me. I can't think of anything else Andy actually objects to but those two things. He might agree with me with this. I'm going to lead off talking about this because here in theaters in Logan New this week, there are a few things. I'm kind of excited about this, actually. The 2022 Classic series. I didn't know this was a thing that existed, but apparently it does. But It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World is back in theaters for the first time in, I don't know how long it's been since this was last in theaters. I know that it came out a long, long, long time ago in the 70s, and it's hilarious. And stars Spencer Tracy and Mickey Rooney and Dorothy Provine, who never really was in anything else again. Terry Thomas, and it's very funny. It's directed by Stanley Kramer, who was a very famous director at the time, and it's back in theaters. But that's not all. Also back in theaters and playing here in Logan, Avatar. And this, and also Don't Worry, Darling, but we'll wait and talk about that when Andy's here. And specifically with that one, all the controversy around it, because there's a question that it's something we've talked about here on the show before. Do they sometimes line up or even set up controversy in order to promote a movie? Because I'll tell you, a lot of people have heard of Don't Worry, Darling, and they probably wouldn't have without some controversy. So that is playing here in Logan, something new. Also, See How They Run. We'll talk about that a little bit. Railway Children. And getting a big thumbs up from critics and audiences. Second week in a row in theaters here in Logan. Woman King, The Barbarian, or just Barbarian, sorry. Minions, Rise of Gru still playing. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Don't know a thing about that one. Not sure I want to. And, of course, Top Gun Maverick still in theaters here in Logan. But there's one new film. Well, there's one new screening in Logan that you can go see of an old film, really old film. Avatar is back in theaters. This is the official 2022 re-release of the Academy Award-winning 2009 film Avatar. It returns to theaters today and has been remastered in 4K, high dynamic range, it's called. This was supposedly James Cameron's masterpiece. Some good people in it: Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Sam Worthington, Michael Rodriguez, and, of course, Sigourney Weaver in an epic role. I think she made the film. It was written, produced, and directed by James Cameron. It was entirely his thing. It got 9 Academy Award nominations. 9. Some of them deserved, I think. But Best Picture and Best Director, and it's getting a sequel, which James Cameron was just in the news yesterday on CNN being interviewed saying it's a much more emotional and touching sequel that we're about to get. And Andy here now to weigh in on this, because this is my big question. Who wants any of this?
I'm okay with Avatar 2.
I'm not against it, but I mean, who are the... It's set up almost as if there is this gigantic horde of people that have just been demanding, nay...
You know what I think it is?
Ordering James Cameron to give them all that they want, and that is only a sequel to Avatar. And I just don't think that horde exists. I think people liked it.
Yeah, but
they moved on, and James
but it was
didn't.
the highest grossing movie of all time for a long time, right? And Titanic was.
Well, you can't really do a sequel to Titanic.
But that's
although that would be fun, maybe.
Yeah, well, Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn actually pitched it. It was going to be called Titanic 2: The Islanding. Well, I don't know if you remember this. This is going to be the weirdest tangent that we're going to have on the show today. But I don't know. It's early. I may get this wrong, so just bear with me for 5 seconds. But also, I came back from Chicago with the black lung, so someone's like, "That's not Andy." It's not, actually. If you've seen Body Snatchers, I am Andy's replacement.
So you're still feeling that from last week?
I honestly...
It might be allergies, because, see, my voice is a little froggy, and mine has been just my sinuses being real mean all week.
Yeah, I felt
a little hazy.
I felt like garbage last week, and then coming into the week, I felt good, but today I was like, well, this doesn't seem to be going in the right direction. Anyway, I actually kind of like it, because I've been thinking about changing careers, and I'm really considering potentially being a Vegas lounge singer, or maybe Wendover if they'll have me. Anyway, but going back, I want to talk about this.
Really gravelly voice. He was in Independence Day.
Harvey Fierstein.
You could be a stunt double. His voice is stunt double.
Forget my lawyer. Right? No, going back to this whole Titanic thing, I was thinking about this. Somehow this came up in a conversation.
I gotta call my lawyer.
That's the one. Forget my lawyer. Ma, you gotta get out of Atlanta.
Ma.
Anyway, but I'm going back to Titanic and a sequel. There's this. They used to do these things that maybe they still do it. I don't watch the MTV Movie Awards anymore. I think I checked out of that somewhere.
Every year I see the commercial or something, and I'm like, oh, wow, they're still doing that?
I liked that.
I think it's cool they do it. I'm just surprised.
Well, the awards themselves are dumb.
That's the only thing MTV's still doing.
They're dumb. The awards are dumb. But the little skits they would do, there was one with Ben Stiller with Tom Cruise, Crooze.
Yeah, that was funny.
Then there was the Lord of the Rings ones where Vince Vaughn but what had preceded the Lord of the Rings of Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller pitching to Peter Jackson, a sequel.
Yeah.
Sequels to the Lord of the Rings.
Which was actually really
funny, yeah.
They worked Madonna in somehow in one of those.
But before that, it was around Titanic, and they said, with Titanic, they were like, okay, hear us out. And Ben Stiller, and he's like, guys, the ship sank. And he's like, we know, and he's like, everybody died. And they're like, but did they? And he's like, yeah, I went down to the wreck. And he's like, but what if the ship landed and there was an air pocket? And the people never knew, they grew up down there. They had a whole city, and they looked out, and it was, and they only saw the
line from The Good Boys. This is where I live now.
Yeah, TITAN. They can't see the whole spelling of the ship. So he's like, and the movie would be called Titanic. But there's an actual show,
and get this, they're blue.
There's an actual show, TV movie from the 1980s called Goliath Rising or Rises.
Oh, I can't believe I know about this already.
I can't think of his name. He passed away last year. He was in a lot of the Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of his name? Robert Forster.
Yeah.
Bingo. Just patted myself on the back. Robert Forster. There was a few other people in it, but it was this ship that gets hit by a German U-boat and sinks. And they're like, and then they make like a utopia, and and then guys go down and they dive, and then I always thought
it was basically Gilligan's Island, but on a sunken boat, and not funny.
And they were like a cult. But what was creepy was
somehow they were like growing their own food, and
And what was creepy was there was a shot that always was either on the cover or during the trailer where like one of the divers is like going along the porthole, and like this woman's face suddenly appears in it. And as a kid, that gives me nightmares. And I'll be honest with you,
it's kind of creepy though.
That actually delves into like probably one of the things that I find most scary in movies is I've never liked the idea of you looking out like a window and then somebody just popping up or somebody looking in at you. That's scary stuff to me. But anyway,
actually is kind of nasty.
Back to Avatar 2. I'm
Faces
fine with it.
Through windows.
I'm fine with Avatar
night.
2. And here's the thing. James Cameron has this ability over the years where he'll say, I'm making this project, and everyone will go, eh. Like Titanic. Remember?
I feel like that's what happened with Avatar.
It did. Right. But everything happened with Titanic, too. All the reports coming in were, this is so expensive, most expensive movie, hard production. It's going to be a colossal failure. And then it hits, and everyone's like, he's like, hey, congratulations on Best Picture, buddy.
I really believe when it comes to certain, this doesn't happen in politics or sports where results have to be seen. But I feel like in the entertainment world, in the pop culture world, sometimes you can just be told enough times you're excited about something or that others are, and it becomes a reality. And I feel like that's how Avatar 1 was sold. And I'm like, hey, more power to you, James. Just don't do anything else.
But let me ask you a question.
And now I feel like Avatar: The Way of Water, because this is Avatar underwater. By the way, did you see the interview on CNN where James Cameron claims that Sigourney Weaver can hold her breath for 6 or 7 minutes after training?
She is
for this movie.
She is Ellen Ripley.
I don't think any actor could do it, I do not doubt it would be Sigourney Weaver.
Tom Cruise is over in a lake.
I'm suspicious that this is humanly possible.
Well, I think Cruise held his breath for...
I'm pretty sure Navy SEALs can't go 7 minutes.
Well, she is Ellen Ripley. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But again, I don't know what it is. I asked the same thing. When you have a movie that makes that much money, those aren't single viewers, right? Those are repeat viewers. I mean, you obviously have a lot of people going.
And the technology was cool. I think that's because I went twice. But I went twice because this was new. This was CGI done. Because remember, this is post Star Wars prequel. And I feel like there's
Avatar's 2009.
Yeah.
We're 4 years removed from Revenge of the Sith.
So I think we had those horrible experiences with the special editions and the three prequels from George Lucas, and I think everyone was kind of sitting on a fence, like maybe we hate CGI, and then here comes Avatar. It's like here is CGI done
mocap.
Right.
It was the mocap stuff where they had the actors completely.
They actually acted the movie and then they just pasted a skin on top of the whole thing.
This was also
which worked, and it was amazing to see, and that's why I went twice.
This was also the time.
But does that hold up for a sequel? I never bought a copy. I've never seen it since it was in theaters.
I have Avatar, and I do. There was a lot of people that saw it that were like, it's basically just Fern Gully.
Well, yeah.
And Dances with Wolves. Which is fine. My complaint to that is that
any movie with like robots that people write in, though, I'm there for it.
Well, and remember what this was about, too. This was the time
It was an environmental movie, basically.
Well, but this was also the time where Hollywood was like, hey, this is Sam Worthington, and you will like him.
Yeah. I think that might have been a big part of it, too. Because you just didn't miss a movie with Sam Worthington.
Because that same year was
in the 2000s.
It was Terminator Salvation. Yeah. Remember with the whole.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Good for you.
That was the god. And then it was like, by the way, this is Sam Worthington. And he's a Terminator. You will like him. This is Sam Worthington in Avatar. You will like him. This is Sam Worthington in Clash of the Titans. Now Sam Worthington's like, hi, I'm in the shack.
The line from the CNN interview.
Not Shaq's biopic, by the way.
The line from the CNN interview. I didn't see this before when I read it earlier this week. James Cameron was on CNN earlier, if you want to see the video. I think it was Tuesday, talking about Avatar, The Way of Water. It's coming soon. And he's been saying that for 12 years. But it is actually coming soon. It has a release date in
December.
Yeah,
right?
December. And so they're obviously on a promotional tour here. But here's the line from the interview that gives me the most pause. I'm not sure about Avatar, Avatar 2, or James Cameron himself, but this is the line. The new film is inspired by my fascination with ocean life. I might be out, James. I mean, that might be enough.
And you know what's going to happen?
For me to wait and see.
Because somehow
before about
he's
a week
a giant wizard.
People have seen it.
You're going to go see it, and you're going to go, well, how did you do that again? How did you lure me in?
Well, I know one thing that is intriguing about this is it's all underwater. And they did the mocap thing again. So this means in order to get the visuals you'll see in the movie, Kate Winslet, Sigourney Weaver.
Wait, Kate Winslet's in it?
That's what he said.
What?
That's what he said. He said Kate Winslet, Sigourney Weaver had to train underwater so that they could hold their breath for up to 7 minutes.
Well, now I'm even more
but
intrigued.
So they actually had to physically do everything you see in the film. Which makes the motion capture is what made Avatar different from the Star Wars prequels. It wasn't cartoonish.
Yeah.
Which is what brought the Star Wars prequels down. You know, that Jar Jar Binks' backflip into the water.
I want to say something so bad right now, but
Jar Jar Binks' backflip into the water isn't bad enough.
No, that's so appropriate.
I thought you meant a bad example.
Like I remember seeing this with some friends. And we were sitting in the movie theater, and Zoe Saldana's character, which is like an 8-foot alien, right?
Yeah.
8-foot blue alien.
With a tail.
And I remember I leaned over and I said, is this just weird for me? Is like she insanely beautiful? Right?
No, but that was actually a thing.
It was
James Cameron talked about that.
He talked about 7-foot blue alien.
Yeah, how he wanted these. This was one of the interviews I read before seeing Avatar, the first one, and James Cameron's actually sitting there talking about how he wanted these aliens to have physical features that would be attractive to human audiences.
Yeah.
Because that's something that is sometimes a draw with regular movies. And I remember reading that and thinking, well, okay, I get it, but weird too at the same time. And so you had a thing for blue Zoe Saldana.
It was just I think she needs to play a couple more aliens because, you know, she's blue in that, she's green in Guardians of the Galaxy, you know. That was also in the late 2000s, right? When they were like, by the way, Zoe Saldana, you will like her in every movie.
Yeah.
And I'm half teasing, too. She's great. And
no,
Sam,
she really is good in pretty much everything I've seen her in.
Sam Worthington he was just excited because he wanted another job.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Anyway.
Yeah, that's actually, good point. He was like, please.
You know, I thought we would take a little detour today. There are a lot of movies in theaters right now.
Yeah.
The one opening this week that's probably the one that's being most buzzed about, that if you're a user of the social medias, is this movie Don't Worry Darling with Harry Styles and Florence Pugh.
On the other side of the news, we need to spend some time on this because this goes, we've talked about this so many times, but this question that you and I both have of do they sometimes invite or open the door or even create controversy?
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone would be hearing about this if it weren't for... We'll explain the controversy and talk about that question around it.
But what we really need to talk about...
It seems a bit staged.
We also need to talk about... We briefly touched on Lord of the Rings last week, or the week before.
Rings of Power.
Yeah, because we talked about House of the Dragon, right? And we don't...
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time on movies on this show, but I do think it's important to talk about streaming. So what I wanted to do after touching on this is we need to talk about two things. We need to talk about Lord of the Rings, because I rewatched all the movies. And I watched the extended versions, by the way.
Oh, wow.
That's one thing you can do when you're sick.
That's like 18 hours or something, isn't it?
Not quite 18, but maybe if
15.
you've folded all the special features in. The Return of the King did feel like 18 hours.
The extended edition is almost 5.
It's 4.5.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Anyway, like the whole movie, like a normal movie's done, and I'm like, oh, we're just getting into it now.
Just getting rolling.
But one thing we also should talk about is he
did the same thing with the Hobbit movies, and that was just sad.
That's the other thing we need to talk about, because I have some thoughts on that. But also, if we have time, I started watching this new show on Netflix, this series Dahmer. I thought it was a movie. I didn't realize it was a series. And it might be one of the most unsettling, unpleasant things I've watched in quite some time. And you know what's funny?
You know how I would set this one up? I would say this is the first time you will ever be exposed to who Jeffrey Dahmer actually was.
Yes.
Not just what he did, but who he was, and it made it worse.
It did. Did you watch it?
I
had to fast forward. I had to fast forward parts of the first.
I got goosebumps at one point.
Because I was like...
Actual audio of his voice in one of those scenes, and it gave me goosebumps.
So it's just terrible.
What a creepy person. I mean, obviously, but I shouldn't talk about this like I can't believe he was unlikable. No, it's just what he did was so horrific, and then getting to see who he was, you're like, well, that's horrific.
It's worse. Yeah. It almost everything is just compounds. It's awful. It really is.
The one they did previous to this on John Wayne Gacy, there were at least those scenes where he's a businessman, he's running this successful construction business, and that's creepy too, because like they had this human life, outside of these atrocities they committed.
But
and
Dahmer
then Dahmer comes along and is like, nope, just 100% cannibal serial killer.
And that's
in my daytime life too. And yet I got jobs and had friends and well, sort of. We'll talk about that more. That's interesting. And also, I should tell you, I've changed since my last week. Big old meh on both Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power on Amazon, and the House of the Dragon on HBO. I was too harsh. What I'm going to say though, the first episodes aren't great, but you get past those on both of those series, and it's pretty good.
Also, we won't talk about this, but if you're not watching She-Hulk, you are missing out. That is some of the best writing right now on TV.
The two that I've really liked the most on Disney right now, I'm a big fan of the Star Wars Andor.
I haven't watched that yet.
A lot of fans aren't liking it. I absolutely love it.
Are they fans?
Not as much as Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was my favorite so far, but Andor's pretty good. It's just action. The people
that are hating on She-Hulk don't realize the movie, that it's actually written for them.
Yeah. It's actually a movie for people it's like they knew people were going to hate it for those reasons, and they're like, well, here's a movie for you.
Yep.
It's great. And Mrs. Marvel, or is it Miss Marvel?
Miss
Marvel. That was good too.
Mrs. Marvel is her mother.
There's a lot of Mrs. Marvel is her mom. Well, there's a lot to talk about on the streaming services in the Star Wars, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, and Game of Thrones world. So we'll get to it right after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News is brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. A former department head at Utah State University has admitted to stealing thousands of dollars from the school several years ago. David H. Olson accepted a plea deal under the condition that he pay back the stolen funds. Olson appeared Wednesday morning in First District Court. He waived his right to a fair trial and pleaded guilty to one count of theft. Cache County Deputy Attorney Andrew Crane said Olson stole $76,766 in computer equipment from the school. The defendant would then take the stolen items to a local electronics store and return them for cash. The thefts occurred from January 2016 until March 2020. According to the Utah State Auditor's Office, Olson was employed as the MIS department head and a professor at the time. Records show he left USU in March 2020 after a 21-year career. He was hired by Utah Tech University, formerly Dixie State University, in June 2020 as an assistant professor. During Wednesday's hearing, defense attorney David Perry said as part of the plea agreement, prosecutors agreed not to ask for any jail time if Olson could repay the school. He explained that his client had acquired a line of credit from a lender and had the full restitution amount to give back to USU. Judge Brian Cannell told Olson that he should apologize to the taxpayers who fund USU. He called the defendant's action significant and obviously selfish. And a University of Utah student was arrested on Wednesday for allegedly threatening to detonate a nuclear reactor if the school's football team lost their game. 21-year-old Meredith Miller now faces one count of a threat of terrorism, a second-degree felony. Arresting documents detail that Miller is an engineering student at the U and allegedly posted on social media platform Yik Yak that if the University of Utah did not win their game, she would detonate the nuclear reactor that is located in the University of Utah, causing mass destruction. Her alleged threat was posted on September 17th, the same day that the University of Utah played San Diego State. The Utes won the game, final score 35-17. Documents state that because Miller is an engineering student, she has knowledge of the nuclear reactor and knows where the reactor is located. University officials issued a statement Thursday saying the school has a zero-tolerance policy for those kinds of threats. Interim Chief Jason Hinojosa said that although the student said her statement was meant as a joke, they have zero tolerance for those kinds of threats. And a Vernal student was taken into custody Thursday after allegedly bringing a weapon to school. Vernal police said late Thursday that the Vernal middle school student, who has not been identified, had a plan and a specific target before being detained by a school resource officer. Police said in a statement that a firearm and ammunition were recovered and the student has been booked into the youth detention center. According to a press release earlier Thursday from the Uinta School District, authorities received reports before classes started that a student may have had a gun. The district said the situation was handled quickly. KVNU weather brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. When you buy Napa Auto Parts, you're getting the best, with their 5 locations from Preston to Providence. Mostly clear tonight, low in the upper 30s, sunny mid-70s tomorrow. For the latest news, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
We might all agree that a vacation to Vegas is good, but Hawaii is better. Same thing when you're building. Wood is good, but metal is better. If you're considering a new building for your farm or business, let Northern Steel Building show you the benefits of metal. Metal is stronger with little or no maintenance, and it doesn't burn. Find out how affordable a metal building really is by visiting northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com or call 435-677-7300.
Hey, how did you get your garden to look so good?
Well, it's easy. I use my BCS two-wheel tractor tiller that I bought at Anderson Seed and Garden in Logan. Nothing chews through the dirt and weeds like a BCS tiller.
Your garden looks like a pro cares for it.
Well, I am outstanding in my field, but seriously, with a simple equipment change at the PTO, my BCS tiller converts into a snow thrower or a log splitter. The uses are endless.
Time for me to head to Anderson Seed and Garden in Logan.
This is Jace Allen with Allen Mortuaries. From our family to yours, thank you for voting Allen Mortuaries Best Funeral Home of Northern Utah and Best Funeral Home of Cache Valley. We sincerely appreciate the confidence and trust your family has given us over the past 83 years. When you trust us with the final preparations of your loved one, you get the kind of caring, personalized service you can only expect from a family-owned funeral home. It's our family serving yours. Voted Best Funeral Home of Cache Valley in Northern Utah, Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
If you're working alone, wear a mask.
I'm not afraid to be seen standing up to these guys.
The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
Welcome back to the For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan here in the studio. We have a lot to talk about. Fall movie season is upon us. Fall is upon us officially as of 7-something last night, 7:23, I think. And we also got summer movie season we can look back on. But before we do all that, so we made fun of Avatar and Avatar 2 coming in December, and James Cameron out on the PR Blitz in theaters in Logan. Woman King getting a big thumbs up from audiences and critics. Barbarian 2, a horror movie that the trailer creeps me out.
I have not seen that.
I haven't either, but the trailer.
That is on my list. I actually, just with being sick and everything, I haven't had a chance to see Don't Worry Darling yet, so we'll have some reviews coming on those.
Can we talk at least about just quickly about the controversy? The controversy. What is the controversy for people that don't know? And Harry Styles got spit on. I know that. Oh no, it wasn't Harry Styles. It was Chris Klein.
Chris Pine.
Pine. Yeah.
By the
Klein's
way,
a different guy.
Another just really small, 15-second tangent for people
Chris
that
Pine
might
looking
not.
like
I feel like I sound like
Jared Leto.
I feel like I sound like Chris Pine right now. Anyway, really quick tangent. Chris Pine, for those that grew up in the 80s and maybe late 70s when remember Chips with Ponch and John?
Oh, wow, yeah.
On TV.
I remember reruns and yeah.
Oh, yeah. You remember the captain or the sergeant? Kind of had I can't think of his name. But if you...
I don't actually. I remember the two main characters.
Somebody out there is driving and they're like, you know what? I totally remember the sergeant. Anyway, that's Chris Pine's dad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Very familiar face. Very familiar face. I'll show you his picture on the next break. But anyway, this movie is, I think, written and directed by Olivia Wilde. I know it's directed by Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
Olivia Wilde is actress. She was, I always remember her from Tron Legacy as the little robot lady. And she's, again, pretty good actress. Probably the thing that people know most recent is that she was not really married to, but I think her and Jason Sudeikis, who plays Ted Lasso, they were like a couple for probably a decade or so. And she split up with Jason Sudeikis and started a relationship with famous musician Harry Styles. Right?
Okay. So that's the connection I was missing.
Yeah. So she is in a relationship with Harry Styles, but apparently there's been a lot of drama on this. So, for instance, like Shia LaBeouf was cast in this film, and there were some reports that he had somehow just behavior-wise had pushed himself out of the movie.
That's one I believe.
Well, but then he was like, "No,"
and
he released a video of Olivia Wilde. I don't know if it was a video message or a FaceTime. I don't know how. I don't know exactly the nature of the message, but it's basically her being like, "Oh, we really want you back." Just contradicting what was being said about Shia, basically, and then obviously,
that, but I'm still like,
obviously Harry Styles, right, replaces. And that's her boyfriend, so there's controversy there.
That maybe it was on purpose.
It was apparently the cast just wasn't in love with her behavior as because if you're the director, right, of a movie, there are other people on the movie, there's producers and other whatever roles on the in terms of the administrative, roles on the film of actually making the movie, but she's the manager, right? That's her job. She manages the cast. It's her job to get it from start to finish. Yeah. And there just was not a lot of, from what I understand, good vibes from the cast and good vibes from certain cast members. Apparently there was a report today that Florence Pugh, who, again, for some people might not be a household name, but she's a great actress. She was in she's in Midsommar. She's the main character in Midsommar. She was in Black Widow last summer. She's, again, great actress.
Yeah.
Really is. Yeah, she and Olivia Wilde apparently had to be an intervention with literally the studio head of Warner Brothers.
Really?
Toby Emmerich. These are unverified reports, so take it with what it is. And so I don't know. You asked this question. Is it a
manufactured controversy?
Right? Are there? Because let's be honest. Like those.
It just seemed like it because you had Harry Styles joking about spitting on Chris Pine. But that's not what happened. He tosses something in his lap. They're sitting next to each other at
the Cannes film
festival, and he tosses something into his lap, and you see Chris Pine pick it up and smile and kind of nod like thank you.
Right.
But everyone, this rumor starts going around, and nobody knows where it came from.
He spit on him.
That Harry Styles spit on him, and then Harry Styles and Pine are instantly joking about it too.
Right.
Which just to me made it seem all kind of manufactured, like they were sent out to do this, and I don't know, but maybe I'm just too cynical.
We'll see it, and then we'll give you our final verdict. But because I don't really care about the drama in the movie. I don't care if everyone's workplace drama was put on the front page every day. I think we'd be like, wow, okay, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah,
look at the Boston Celtics today. But anyway, I'm not. By the way, I'm not laughing about that because I do think there's some things in that are not being talked about that are a little difficult. But let me ask you a question before we start talking about some of this.
The Celtics thing is okay. I'll shut up.
Stick around for hour 2 as we do our hybrid movie sports show. What I was going to somebody else was like, really? No.
Would be funny, actually. We should just one time do that.
If I asked you, if I told you that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness made $411 million domestically, would you believe me?
Yeah, because you had to see it. If you're a Marvel fan.
But did you?
If you're a Marvel fan,
I'm
you
just
had
teasing.
to. Well, I shouldn't say that, though, because I didn't. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it I saw a good third of it on Disney Plus, and I've yet to finish it.
What my favorite thing is?
This is the first Marvel movie where I've actually Googled what happened in this movie so I'm not missing part of the plot for the next one.
When you fall asleep.
It was that bad. I fell asleep.
Here's
twice.
Here's one thing I want to say is I think that this last quarter of movies, right, as we get into October, November, and December, with some of the big releases we have coming out, because you've got, again, like you mentioned, Avatar 2, we've got Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
I think it's going to really... there's this whole thing going around to movie theaters are dead, and I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I would assume that Hollywood will come out somewhere probably in probably around $10 billion range in terms of total domestic gross this year.
I think movie theaters are challenged and dropping the ball, but they're not dead or dying.
Well, you know what I hear a lot of too? I was talking to somebody the other day. They said I don't like going because this younger generation, not to sound like the guy that's get off my lawn, but they just no manners. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
I see this every time I open up TikTok. Somebody's filming the movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's so rude. Nobody cares. That's just rude. And if you're filming a movie and you're listening to this right now, you are a terrible person. So mark it down.
Do you remember when that used to be? I remember. Here's a confession. I was so excited about it. And I knew I was going to see it multiple times and definitely contribute my money at the box office. But someone I worked with handed me a horrible copy of Fellowship of the Ring about a week before it hit theaters here.
Was it on DVD?
They had put it on DVD. This had obviously been downloaded digitally. I'm assuming BitTorrent was probably involved because of the time. It was BitTorrent was really popular pirating technology or platform at the time, and it just you could barely see anything or hear anything. Still watched it, and I look back on that and think, why did I do that? Why would it? It kind of ruined the first time in the theater experience for me, and not for a good copy that I could actually see or hear. And so that was kind of a lesson for me to not do that. And so when I hear about people going in and filming, or how do you feel about? So there are critics who will actually send. This is kind of controversial, using TikTok or Snap. At first I'm like, oh, I'm okay with that if it's for review purposes, and then I thought, no, that means you're pulling your phone out, because even a 15-second TikTok. You've got your phone out, your screen's lit up.
I don't know of any critic. I can tell you right now that the Utah Film Critics Society,
they wouldn't go for it?
No.
Okay.
If you pulled your phone out, we would probably kick you out.
That's good. I like hearing that.
There's just no way. I don't know what critics are doing that, and if they are, they should be shamed.
It was a contributor to Variety.
Really?
Yeah. Not their regular critic.
Sometimes these what people like. I mean, I could go through names, but like sometimes they feel a little entitled.
Was a famous influencer who was reviewing that. What was that movie you hated? That was about the. It was like an ensemble cast one. Famous mob, or was it fashion? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Al Pacino was in it.
Oh. The House of Gucci.
Yeah.
Why did you make me remember that show?
It was that one, and it was it was a contributor, an influencer contributing, but she actually did the review.
So sad.
And Variety shared it on their Snap channel, I think, not TikTok. And so she filmed and actually talks during the film. I hate this part. And I get they're trying to be snappy and get the Zoomers involved and all that stuff, but I just don't like the idea of that becoming a regular thing.
No, and that movie was terrible, but, I don't want, ugh. God.
Can you imagine that? 5 people down front pulling their phones out and adding commentary as they're filming.
And that's
the film.
I mean, they're behaving no different than these rude whoever they are.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
It's okay, I'm a critic.
Yeah, no, that's not cool.
We should take our last break and then do Lord of the Rings and House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I want to talk about, I rewatched all the movies, and I watched Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King, and then I was like, okay, well, let's do The Hobbit. And I'm not kidding, I watched the first 11 minutes, and I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theaters.
No, it's that bad.
And I just shut it off. It's garbage.
Yeah. The second film is watchable, but still not.
I couldn't make it. And I'll tell you what, as much as I love the Return of the King, I want to tell a funny story when we come back about Return.
Okay.
I had my kids convinced of something very funny about Return of the King, or actually about all the Lord of the Rings characters. It'll be a good time.
All right. Okay, we'll be talking about Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, both on streaming services and HBO proper. These are getting a lot of attention. We'll talk about it right after this.
You can't beat fall in Utah. The weather is perfect for a getaway. Get out and drive a new Murdoch Hyundai with up to $500 off any new Hyundai. And every new Hyundai comes with America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, and owner's assurance. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, and Murray, or online at murdochhyundai.com.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 10/1/22. Weather changes are tough on your transmission. As we move to colder winter weather, Amco Transmission invites you to bring your vehicle in for preventative maintenance before the snow flies. Have a diesel pickup, Cummins, Duramax, or Power Stroke? Amco in Logan is your transmission specialist, and they promise to get you in quickly. For over 50 years, Amco Total Car Care has been experts in repair for transmissions, brakes, tune-ups, and more. Find your local Amco at 75 West, 2000 North. Call 752-1940.
This Saturday before the Aggie UNLV football game, bring your appetite to the annual Ag Day Barbecue at the Craig Aston Park in Logan. From 2 to 4:30, fill up on a delicious feast of Utah beef and pork and lamb, fresh corn on the cob, onion rings, dairy products, and more. Buy tickets at the event or online in advance at agbarbecue.usu.edu. The Utah Department of Agriculture and Food and Utah's Own is proud to sponsor this year's event. It's Saturday starting at 2 at Craig Aston Park, 1307 North, 800 East. Buy tickets in advance at agbbq.usu.edu.
Strange women lying in ponds distributing salt is no basis for a system of government.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show. Andy Morgan here in the studio.
Also called the Black Lung Hour.
Yeah, both of us have had, like, air quality's poor. My allergies have been awful this week.
You guys missed it in the break.
Go home and have a nap.
I had to give Jason, I had to, like, resuscitate him.
Oh, twice.
in that short of a break. You know, so going back to talking about the Rings of Power, I caught up last week, and after getting caught up, I thought, I really like this. Was it 4 or 5?
I think it's 5 now, right? 5 episodes.
I agree with you. The first one, well, I didn't hate it.
Yeah, it's not awful.
It is a little. It's a little. I mean, it's rough around the edges, right?
I walked away from the first episode honestly thinking, I don't know if I care, and that surprised me. But then episode 2, I'm like, okay, I care. Episode
it gets better.
3, I'm like, oh, I very much care.
And I know. And here, this is the kind of Lord of the Rings fan I am. I've read the books. I've read The Hobbit. I've read The Fellowship. You know, Two Towers, Return of the King. I've never read The Silmarillion. I don't plan to.
I tried to, and I'll be honest with you, it's a lot like reading the Book of Genesis. It really is. It's the same. He didn't read this for public consumption.
No,
write this
no.
He wrote it for himself, and then his grandson
his
published
kids were like,
it.
Money, 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 money.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
He never wrote it for publication. It was not a story.
Well,
it's not a narrative. It's a history.
So, and here's my thing. I don't think you can be the type of fan that gets so caught up in like having everything met to your exact specifications. Like, people take liberties. That's just part of art. And you just deal with it, right? So I don't know who all these characters are. I don't know where they all fit in, but I do think that Rings of Power is pretty cool. And
actually, you touch on something, because I thought this after I got into these. So as I said, in later episodes, I got into both of these series. Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. I've been watching House of the Dragon on HBO Max. And I got into them by the second, third episode, and I'm fully in at this point, and can't wait to see what happens next. But I think they're better if you haven't read the books they're based on.
I agree.
I think that's what's detracting for me.
That's what made me, so rewatching these, that reminded me of why I didn't love the Two Towers when it came out, because I went and watched The Fellowship in the theater, and I thought to myself, and I remember seeing the cartoons when I was little, and I remember thinking, oh, I forgot how magical this was. So I picked up The Fellowship, got through the whole Tom Bombadil boring stuff, and I was like, I love this book. I love it. So then I thought, I'm going to read The Two Towers. So I read The Two Towers before the movie came out. And again, I love the book.
And that's the one book they changed the most.
Yeah, because at the end of The Two Towers, Frodo's dead.
Yeah.
He's been stabbed by Shelob. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like like Empire Strikes Back level.
All the stuff that plays out with the other wizard, Sauron.
Saruman, yeah.
Saruman, sorry. Sauron's the other guy. The big black guy. Saruman, all of that stuff plays out so much cooler in the book.
Yes.
And the time at his tower. And the Two Towers was disappointing for me book-wise, too.
Yeah.
And then the opposite with Return of the King. I like the film version of Return of the King a lot better than the ending of Lord of the Rings.
I agree. Well, and let me say something really quick, because I know we're running out of time here. But speaking of Return of the King, so when my kids were little, they were too little to see Fellowship and Two Towers when those came out. And my daughter was deathly afraid of Gollum. I tried to read her The Hobbit, and I remember creepy. It was bad. But anyway, when they did like Return of the King, and there's a line in Return of the King where Aragorn starts to walk off to go get the army of the dead down the Dimwalt Road, and he goes, and Gimli says, "Where do you think you're going?" And he says, "You're not coming with me." And then Gimli basically says, "You might as well face it. We're coming with you, laddie." And it says laddie, but I had convinced my kids that he said Larry. And so I told my kids that it was Larry Aragorn, and then they were convinced that everyone had first names. Gary Gandalf, Carol Legolas, and Brad Gimli.
I like Brad Gimli. That is actually pretty good.
Good times.
Speaking of that, I rewatched the first Avengers movie, and that whole pucker up Legolas line from Tony Stark.
Great.
Still a funny movie.
Great stuff.
All right, we'll be talking more about this, and of course, Barbarian, Don't Worry Darling, everything next week on the For the People Movie Show. Dave Ramsey, followed by Logan High Basketball next.